Hello.
Hi, Claire.
Can everyone hear me?
Mhm.
Hello. I'm wearing I forgot to show this off before. I'm wearing my World Orienteering Day shirt
Hey.
in honor of World Orienteering Day, which was canceled by the IOF, but a few clubs are still doing things for it. In fact, I did the lockdown World Orienteering Day stuff over the last couple of days. That was pretty exciting.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like almost 1,000 people from all over the world, and there were 5 different things to do. There was a catching features game, there was some online trail orienteering, there was online street view orienteering, there was this little maze game, and there was another game that was looking at 2 maps and having to figure out what was different between them.
Cool.
That's great.
I came in 229th or something like that.
Out of how many?
Well, there were like almost 2,000 people who registered. There were about 900 people who uploaded at least some results. There were about
Very good.
450 people who uploaded enough results to have an official real standing. So I was about halfway down the list of people who actually did at least 4 things, which is what you had to do to get a real standing.
Very nice.
Okay, so we're probably going to get kicked out after 40 minutes. We did our last one. Hopefully that's going to end. The board has just voted to purchase Zoom for the club. So by next week, I should hopefully have that login, and then we'll be able to definitely go longer if we need to. Let me share my screen here.
You think when you purchase it, you'll be able to upload the previous lessons?
You know, I can. I just well, I don't know what changes there. Basically what happens is when I'm done, it makes a video file, and I have the video files. They're on my computer, but I have to go through the task of uploading them like to YouTube or something, and then sending out a link. And I just haven't gotten around to doing that yet.
Okay.
Yeah. One of them needs to be edited because of something I did during the meeting that I don't want out there for the public, but
Okay, we're looking forward to it.
yeah, I'm sorry. I know it's been like 3 weeks and I still haven't got it done, and I should do that. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Where's my little button to share that? Okay, there it is. Okay, are you seeing my screen now?
Yes.
All right, so here is the presentation. Go out of that so I can still see the stuff. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. Wait a minute. There's a way to do this so that it's not quite the whole screen. Well, we'll leave it like this for now. And if I need to get out of it, I'll get out of it. Okay. So today we're going to talk about the compass. Everything you might need to know about your compass. The first thing to know about your compass is, and hopefully most people here already know this, is that it's not the main way you're supposed to be getting around. You should be using your map first and foremost. Map is the #1 thing. It's very common for beginners to have the mistaken impression that orienteering is going to be about being given a numerical bearing and setting that on their compass and then following that in a straight line to get to something. And that's not what we do. We use our map. So some resources that I've got here is the patch program that we use. There's a link to some compass videos and a link to something called the Right Direction with a Thumb Compass, which we may look at later. But I will get these slides will be posted on the website, and then you can get these links from the slides. The compass videos we won't be watching, but they're just some other videos. I think when you hit this link, it goes to a specific video, and then that starts playing, and then off to the right, there's some other Orienteering USA videos that we've linked to for you. All right, so let's talk about parts of a compass. I want to talk about this because I want to make sure that we all speak the same language here, that that when I say things, wait a minute, I want to move this out of the way. I want to make sure that when I say things, you know what I'm talking about. So this is a base plate compass. So there's two types of compasses that orienteers typically use. One is a standard base plate compass. That's the rectangular kind. Most beginners usually have one of those. That's what we rent. And then the other is called a thumb compass, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But they still have all the same major parts. So there's the base plate itself. That's the clear plastic bottom. On the base plate, there's something called the direction of travel arrow. So that's an arrow that's in the middle here. And that tells you what direction you should actually be moving in. Okay, direction of travel. That's the way you're traveling. The index line is a little line just above, just next to the direction of travel arrow, which you use if you're actually trying to set a numeric bearing. It's what you line the number up with. Then you have this circular thing, we call that the compass housing, okay, because it houses the needle. This circle is the part that has the needle inside of it. It's the house, it's the housing. And that's typically liquid filled. There's a liquid inside of there. You can't always, you notice there's a liquid once it forms a bubble. But if your compass is in good shape, there shouldn't be a bubble. It might not be obvious there's liquid inside of there, but there is, and that helps keep the needle from bouncing around too much. That's one of the biggest differences between cheap compasses and expensive compasses, is what they do inside of that housing to keep the needle steady. The more expensive a compass is, the more steady the needle is going to be. So then there's a needle. Typically the north side is red. And the south side is usually white. It might be a different color depending upon your, the model you get, but in general, it's usually red and white. And then inside the housing, there are some lines. These lines here, they turn with the dial. If you turn the dial, those lines will also turn. There's one that points to north, and that's called the orienting arrow. That's the main arrow. On the other lines are just called the orienting lines. But all of these lines, including that one that's pointing to the N on the dial, that all will turn if you turn your compass dial. Any questions about those terms? Okay. So we covered this in our basic skills, but I'll go over it again. The number one thing you want to use your compass for is to orient your map. So there's two ways that there's 3 steps to doing that. Well, 2 steps to doing that. First, you have to put the compass so that the needle is near a north line. And I actually, hang on here. I actually got my video to finally work here. So I have some pictures to show. That's not what I wanted. I don't want iTunes, I want photos. There we go. They're back here. All right, so you're going to set your compass down on your map and hold it flat, right? Because the compass only works if it's being held flat. And you want to set it down so that this needle is near a north line. So on this map, the north lines are these black lines here. So right now there's a black line right here. That's one of my north lines. It's right underneath my compass needle. So what I want to do is turn the map around until it lines up. I want this red needle to be pointing towards the top of the map. I can't do that by moving the compass around because that needle is going to point north no matter what. So I have to actually move the map. So I've got a video of that happening here. Okay, so here that's there. Now watch it. We're going to move the map underneath the compass. And as the map moves, the needle and the line will eventually come together. And when they do, now my map is oriented. So now that the map is oriented, I can see what direction things are. So if I was standing looking at this, and let's say I was at the start triangle, which is here, number 1 is that direction. So it's kind of behind me. I'd have to turn around to be facing number 1. If I was at number, let's see, 11, which is here, and going to 10, let's say I want to go backwards from here to here, then I would go, you know, I'd have to turn a little bit to the right to be facing that direction, and I would go out that way, but I could just kind of point towards number 10. So that's how you use the compass to orient your map. Okay, so put the compass so it's in your north line, turn the body and or your map until the needle and the north lines point the same direction. If you've already got the map set up so that the course you want is facing the way you are, then what you want to do is turn your body. And we'll cover that a little bit more in the next step. Be very careful. Turning the compass doesn't make any difference. You have to turn the map. If you just turn your compass around and it's not working, it's not working. That's why you have to turn the map. Okay, so how to use a compass to take and follow a precise bearing. All right, so let's suppose you're trying to go from an attack point into the woods, into a specific control or something like that. You might want to be very precise and be very careful about what you're doing. So this is the thing most people think about when they think about how do I use my compass. This is the task that they're thinking about. And I took a series of pictures to show you how this works. I didn't get them into the thing that they're here. So step one, you put your compass down on the map. Okay, so remember, this is called our direction of travel arrow. So we want that pointing in the direction that we want to travel on the map. So here I've got this lined up. You see, here's control 1, here's control 2. So what I've done is I've lined up the clear edge of the compass right with that line, 1 to 2. Okay, so that makes that parallel to this direction of travel arrow. So that's the direction that I want to go in, that way. Be careful when you do this that you do it in the direction you want to go, right? You don't want to, if you're going from 1 to 2, you don't want to set the compass down so that the arrow is going from 2 to 1. Make sure you're going from 1 to 2. This arrow should be pointing the way you're going to go. Okay, so I've got the compass set down on the map with the direction of travel arrow the way I want to go. Then I take the compass housing. Let's go back a little bit. So you'll see here, this right now, this compass housing is all mixed up, right? The north arrow is not going the same direction as anything. The lines inside the orienting lines are not going the same direction as things. In fact, north on this map, see here, you see the word legend, how it's upside down. North on this map is toward the bottom right now. Okay, and this line is pointing up, you know, so the north on this orienting lines are pointing toward the south. Well, that's not going to help me. So the next step is with this remaining on there. So I want to leave that lined up, and then I turn that housing around, turn this dial until that north orienting line is lined up with the north line on the map. So you see, here's the blue, that's the north line on the map. So now I've got those two things lined up. So there's two different things lined up on my map. I've got the direction of travel arrow lined the way I want to go, and I've got the orienting lines lined up with the north on the map. I haven't paid any attention at all to the needle. Okay, so right now I'm basically just using my compass as a protractor. It's measuring the angle between this and this. So those two things are lined up. If notice that right here I don't have any little arrows, I don't have anything like that. How can I tell which way is north versus south? Well, here's a little trick. The numbers on the circles are always oriented to north. So I can tell that north has to be this way because my 2 is upside down. Okay, so even if you can't see anything else, if you can see the numbers of your course, you can figure out which way is north. Just be careful if you're looking at 6 or 9. Okay, so now I've got that. Now that I've done those 2 steps, I can take the compass off of the map. And now I turn around, I hold my compass, I don't even need the map, I just hold the compass in my hand, and I turn around until the needle is lined up with those orienting lines. When it was on the map, they weren't lined up. But now that I pull it off of the map, I turn my body around until they are. Notice I made a point of showing my little bare feet here. My toes are facing this same as this direction of travel. It's important that you hold your compass this way all the time. This arrow should go the same way as your feet and should go the same way as your nose. Don't ever have it pointing out like this or like this. because you're going to move the direction your feet are pointing. Okay, so you want your compass to be going the same way as your feet, because that's where you're going to actually go when you start stepping. All right, so turn your whole body around, including your feet, until it's all lined up like that. Any questions about those steps? Okay, so that's what it says on here. Put the compass along the line you want to travel. While keeping that lined up, you turn the housing to make the orienting lines line up. You remove the compass from the map, hold it in front of you, and turn around until you're in line with the orienting line. Some people call this putting red thread in the shed. So the needle is going inside the orienting line. Follow, and then you follow the direction of travel arrow. Keep it going the same way as your nose and your feet. Be careful that you don't accidentally put the white in the orienting lines. Be careful that you don't accidentally line up on the map with the direction of travel arrow going the opposite direction, because otherwise you'll be going exactly the wrong way from where you want to go. So I wrote a little song for this. I wrote this a long time ago. It's called The Compass Hokey Pokey. I use it when I teach it to kids. So I'm going to demonstrate it for you now. I'm going to stop sharing. And let's see here. I don't know if this will work because I have my thing on here, but here's my compass. Okay, and get the air out of the way. All right, here we go. You put the compass on the map along your route. You take the compass housing and you turn it all about. You put your feet together and you turn yourself around until the needle is in its house. Ta-da! That's my song. So that's good if you're trying to teach it to kids, or if you just want a fun way to remember what you're doing. Those are the steps of doing the compass hokey pokey. All right, let's go back to sharing the screen again. I have this, I have my, okay. So there's the words for that. Take the compass housing and you turn it all about. Put your feet together and you turn yourself around. Oh, that's supposed to say needle. Ah, typo. Okay, I'll have to fix that. All right, so that's the main things about a base plate compass. Are there any questions so far about how to do those steps? Okay, so let's talk about thumb compasses. So a thumb compass is a little bit different. Actually, I guess I should have waited to show you my thumb compass first here. So thumb compass looks like this. Okay, it's got a, so it's got the same parts, right? So this here is your direction of travel arrow. Okay, and you've got, it still has a housing that turns. My housing still turns. I still have orienting lines inside that housing. Okay, you can see them turn around. My needle happens to be orange instead of red on this, but it's pretty clear which way is the north on the needle. Okay, it holds, you put it on your thumb like that. All right, so that I can hold it. So it still has all the same parts that the other compass has. Not all thumb compasses have all of those parts. Some thumb compasses don't have a rotating housing. Okay, some really basic compasses do not have the orienting lines in here. They don't have a housing that rotates. All they have in there is a needle. But most of them these days do have that stuff. Okay.
Claire?
Yep.
So back at the hokey pokey, before we do the hokey pokey, are we orienting the map in the first place?
It's good to have your map oriented as you go along, but your map does not have to be oriented for the hokey pokey to work.
Okay.
Because you do the part of the, you do the steps with the map separate from the step where you actually turn with the compass. So you'll see toward the end, I talk a little bit about when we're going to use our compass and some of those kinds of things. And normally when you're orienteering, you don't really use that system very much. A lot of times, sometimes what I'll do is I might rotate and orient the lines. So oftentimes I'll do that before I actually get to the place where I would change the orientation of my map. So if I'm traveling, let's see, let's go back to, am I sharing right now or not?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, let's go back to here. So while I'm traveling from 1 to 2, or let's say I was on a trail, right? Let's say I knew I was going from 2, I'm going to go up to 3. I'm going to take this trail, I'm going to go here, and then from this saddle, I'm going to try to go down to 3. So while I'm traveling on this trail, I might take the time to put my compass down on my map this direction and set that bearing to go from the saddle to 3, even though I'm going this direction. So my map might be oriented for traveling this direction, even though I'm taking a bearing to go that way, because I'm planning ahead. And then when I get to here, I would take the compass, turn myself using the bearing that I've already set, so that now I know how I'm going down to number 3. And then I would orient the map to how I'm now facing, as I actually went and did that. So sometimes I might do this step first before I then orient the map under it. I mean, the top elite orienteers mostly orienteer by just using the compass to keep their map oriented and then reading the map all the time. I probably turn the housing on my compass to set a bearing more often than the very best orienteers do. Okay, so to use your thumb compass, the thumb compass is designed so that you hold the map and the compass in the same hand. Most people who use a base plate compass hold the base plate in one hand and the compass in the compass in one hand and the map in the other, and then they periodically put them together in order to take a bearing or to orient the map, and then they pull them back apart. But when you use a thumb compass, it's designed so that those two things are held together in the same hand. So I have a picture of that. I think I took a picture of that. Yes, so here is me holding my thumb compass with my map. So you can see I've folded the map so that I can easily hold it. And you see how it has your thumb points right to that tip of the direction of travel part of the compass. So your compass sort of ends up being the thumb for you. So if you normally thumb your map when you're using a thumb compass, I use the compass tip for the thumbing action that you would normally use your thumb with if you're using a base plate compass. Okay. So in this case, I've got, again, I'm going from 1 to 2. I've got that direction of travel part of my compass lined up going from 1 to 2. Okay. And then I've rotated this all around so that the north arrow on the compass is facing the same way as the north is on the map. So if this is all this way, that means that I'm facing that direction. If I just go straight this way, I'll be going from 1 to 2. Okay, all I have to do now is move straight forward. I'm going from 1 to 2. And I haven't done anything with this housing. I didn't rotate the housing to do this. I just turned around until the north on the map was the same way as this. So it sort of helps you take out a step, right? I've oriented my map, and with my map oriented, I've also got a direction of travel arrow helping show me where I go. So it makes it easy to take out the step of rotating the housing. But the housing does rotate on this compass. So if I really care about extra precision, and I really want to do that, I can still rotate the housing so that it's lined up with all of this other stuff. And that way I can be a little bit more precise. Where'd I go? Here, there it is. So you hold the compass and the map together. You keep the tip of the compass on your position to thumb. Keep the direction of travel arrow pointing the way you want to be going at any given time. And make sure that your feet and nose are pointing the same way as that direction of travel arrow. You don't want to, last time somebody asked about different thumb compasses, and we talked about the fact that the angle can be different on them. So when you're purchasing a thumb compass, right, the angle between my thumb And this is different depending upon the model of compass. And you want to be careful that you get something that matches the way you naturally hold your hand, because if you get something where that angle is too far off, you can be in a position where your hand at rest is naturally holding the direction of travel arrow so that it's not in line with your feet. You know, oh, I'm resting my hand and my direction of travel arrow is always facing this way, and now I'm always, you know, off to the right or something. So you need to make sure that you're holding this so that it's in line with your feet. And then turn until the needle matches the magnetic north lines on the map. So some thumb compasses have a housing, so you can still set a precise bearing. Some thumb compasses have a color-coded housing. I don't have one of those, but let's go back here really quick. Oh no, I have it up here. So this is that page that I have linked about the right direction with a thumb compass. I haven't read everything on this page, but I got here because I was looking for images and it had some really good stuff. So here you can see this compass doesn't have, it has the lines in there so you can still rotate it, but it doesn't have any bearing markings. If you were trying to go by a number, you couldn't use that compass for that. But here's some samples of other thumb compasses. And you see there's these ones that have these colors in them, color codings. This one has some colors as well around it. So the way people use that, they use it for what's called keeping a rough bearing. You put the compass down and you get yourself all oriented like I was there with my picture, right? And then this will be pointing to some color on your compass. Right? And then you just say, okay, whatever that color is, I want to just keep that pointed toward that color and I'm going the right direction. So you don't worry as much about this, but you just use that color in the compass. I don't use one like that, so I don't really have that skill down. But some people really like that idea. This is the newest, hottest compass on the market. I think it costs about 70 bucks. Top guys use that. So, and this page shows the systems I showed. So this here, the Silva 123 system, that's what I showed with the base plate, where you put this down, then you rotate the housing. This is the compass hokey pokey, base plate on the map, compass housing rotated all about, and then you put those two things together and go that direction. So this is more like what I was showing you. Put this down, and then you just line up this needle with that, and you go. So this is that's the same way you would use a compass that doesn't have any orienting lines or anything like that. You put it down onto the way you want to go. You turn until it's lined up with the north arrows, and then you go. And there's Terry Giorgio, one of the best orienteers ever in history, using his straight compass, although he's not even looking at it. So, where are we here? Back to this. So, any question about thumb compasses?
And Claire, it's Darren. I have two questions.
Okay.
The first one, I assume once a compass gets a bubble in it, it's pretty much junk. It seems like whenever I've had them with bubbles, it interferes with the needle. So I assume that's not repairable. But maybe more interesting is question two. Is there any disadvantages with a thumb compass, or is it pretty much down to personal preference as to which works best?
I've never heard anyone talk about disadvantages with a thumb compass. Once upon a time there was, way back when I started orienteering, most thumb compasses were only the real basic ones without any orienting lines in them, and most of them didn't even have rotating housings. And so if you were used to doing that, moving to a thumb compass was a big change. But now there's been thumb compasses on the market with rotating housings for at least 25 or 30 years now, so that's no longer an issue. Because I know for a while I didn't jump into a thumb compass until they started making them with rotating housings. That's the main thing. Okay, we got 10 minutes. I would say there are disadvantages to the base plate compass more than the thumb compass. A lot of people who use base plates actually end up using them the same way as a thumb compass. Some people use base plates and use them in the same hand as their map. So it really comes down to personal preference. The vast majority of elite orienteers use thumb compasses because they're just faster to hold and to use. All right, so that's how you use your compass. So when should you use your compass, right? You can remember the whole point is to be a race. If you spend too much time on your course taking bearings and trying to figure and doing that, you can easily slow yourself down trying to use your compass in places where you don't need to, right? Remember, the focus should be as much as possible using your map. So when should you use your compass? First thing, at the start, use your compass to make sure that you are oriented properly and that your map is oriented properly. I always, as I approach the start, will be looking at my compass so that before I even pick up my map, I know which way is north. That way, the minute I turn over the map, I can really quickly orient it. I already know which way the north lines on the map should be pointing for my map to be oriented right off the bat at the start. So you want to make sure that you don't make a decision out of the start without ensuring that you're oriented and that your map's oriented. You should use your compass at each control as you leave it, the same way you would at the start, to make sure that you're going off in the right direction, especially to make sure that you're not making a 180-degree error or something like that. The faster an orienteer you are, the more that will become second nature, to where you barely are noticing that you're using your compass to do that, but you are. You should use your compass anytime you have a major decision point. Right, so if I'm collecting features along the way and I get to a boulder where I think, okay, I'm going to go to the boulder and I'm going to turn kind of to the right. Well, when I get to that boulder, I should make sure my map is oriented. I should make sure, or if it's my attack point, I might take a precise bearing from there to go into my control and then make my turn and make sure I'm going the right direction when I make my turn. Another really important time to use your compass is whenever you cross a major linear feature. Even if you're not changing direction there, even if all you're doing is crossing the road, when you get to the road, check what direction it's going. That makes sure that you're crossing the road that you thought and that you're crossing it in the place where you think you are. It's a really, really nice way to catch yourself if you've made an error, right? You can use this with roads and paths. You can use it when you cross a stream bed. You can use it when you cross a reentrant. I can't tell you how many times I've hit a reentrant and said, this doesn't look quite right, and turned around and lined myself up with the reentrant, took a bearing on it, and realized, yeah, I'm definitely not in the reentrant that I thought I should be following right now. And then, looked around the map and figured out, oh, I'm in this little side reentrant that's going the other direction. Okay, I'm a little bit too high or whatever. And that can really help you get back on track if you catch quickly that you're in the wrong place. And one easy way to catch quickly that you're in the wrong place is to check the orientation of things that you cross. And then the last thing is just to try to keep your map oriented while you're running, so that you stay on the route that you want to, and as you collect your features with your thumb. And I think that's my last slide. Any questions?
Claire,
Yep.
probably a bit esoteric, but once when I was helping with a meet, one of the visitors to our club asked about magnetic variation. And it seemed a bit redundant because, as far as I know, all our maps are aligned with magnetic north. But I think what he was saying or asking about is, are there some maps where it shows true north and therefore they have to make an allowance for the difference between that and magnetic north, which I think, again, for LAOC, that's not relevant, right?
Yeah, and there's three ways to handle that. One is, and this is the way that I would probably do it if I had a chance to prepare. If you've got a map, so for example, a USGS topo map, right? If I right? So USGS topo map does not, is typically oriented with north at the top, and it's true north. Oh, here's, let's see. Does this show? It does not. Let me show you. So at the bottom of a USGS topo map, there's a little diagram. It's called the declination diagram, and it has 3 arrows in it. And one has a star, that's true north. One says GN, that's grid north. That's the UTM grid that's used by the military. And then the other one is magnetic north. So that's the, so in this case, wherever this diagram was from, magnetic north was 17.5 degrees off. Right now in Southern California, we're about 13 to 14 degrees east magnetic declination. But so the USGS map is oriented with the star to the top. Grid north is usually so small that over small distances it's negligible, but magnetic north can be pretty large. So if I was using a USGS topo and I expected to have to take detailed bearings from it, and I had a chance to prepare it, I would just, you know, grab it, take a big ruler, and you know, draw some parallel lines on my map that were in line with this magnetic north in the declination diagram. So now I've got a bunch of magnetic north lines on my map. I can just use it the way I'm used to. The second way to deal with that is there are some compasses that correct for it. In other words, some compasses inside the housing, they actually have something that allows you to turn the orienting lines a little bit off from the rest of the compass and to add something in there that corrects for declination. I had one of those once. I forget exactly how it worked, but basically you set it for a certain number of degrees off, and then you didn't have to worry about it. It worked. It worked with, you know, you'd set your orienting lines to true north on the map, but it was but the compass lines inside were really going off by the 17.5 degrees that they had to. So when you lined up your magnetic, it automatically worked right. The last way is if you deal with rough compass bearings most of the time and you're really reading your map well, you can just, you know, correct for this naturally. To just say, oh, okay, I just need to, you know, I just need to remember that I'm going, you know, about 13.5 degrees different than my north arrow does. But
now
yeah.
you mentioned it, I think he was messing with his compass, so probably had it set up for some prior course somewhere and was just wanted to set it up correctly for us. But
yeah.
My guidance was that the north lines on our maps are all magnetic north. So.
Yeah, so for an orienteering course, you just set it for 0. Yeah. We have less than a minute left. Any other questions?
Beautiful job. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you, Claire. Very nice.
Thanks, Claire.
Thanks,
We
Claire.
appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. Where do I go? Down here. There we go. Bye.